Storage is complicated.
What? It's all blocked? What are you gonna do?
Go from here?
I'm gonna do something in here.
What?
I'm gonna move some things around. Are you gonna help me?
And I've noticed this translates outside of my work in the recording studio and out just in like my life, closet, my car. This is seemingly an existential problem with me. Maybe I should see somebody about that. When I think back to being a kid, everything seemed a bit simpler. Computers were just arriving in people's homes. There was really no relationship with the computer except for there's a way to play a game on it called solitaire. And then as I got older, I started collecting CDs. And then I would put these CDs onto the computer. I think I can safely say at this point, this is when the whole storage debacle started. You see, we had the CDs, but then I wanted to put the content from the CDs onto the computer. I also wanted to store the CDs. It's like, do you keep the cases or do you get a big case and put all of the CDs into one case and then get rid of those plastic cases? And then we got blank CDs, and I could take a bunch of different CDs or albums or even videos and pictures and put those onto CDs. And then I had more of these CDs, and then fast forward another several years, and then I got my first hard drive. And at that time, I don't know about you, but I had built up a collection of quite a few albums. I had made quite a few videos. I had taken a lot of photos. I was making music, so I had all these music files and sessions and GarageBand and Logic and stuff like that, and I'd put all those onto the computer and onto the hard drive. And well, I wound up moving out of my parents' house and going across the country, and I decided, let's make my computer a bit faster before I move out there, because I had all these big plans of, I'm gonna go to recording school, I'm gonna take all these projects that I've made, and I'm gonna open them up on the big console, and I'm gonna make them sound better. And so what I did was I backed up all of my data from my iMac. I had a 2007 iMac, backed it all up to this Western Digital drive, and I wiped my iMac because I wanted there to be like no extra storage. I wanted to cleanse it, if you will, so that it was as fast as possible because things were slower then. So I put everything on this hard drive, and I think at the time that was probably a 250 gigabyte hard drive. So if that says anything about all of the data that I had at that time, it's quite funny to think about. But I put it all on there, and then I moved to California. And it was exciting, and I got an apartment, and I started getting furniture and stuff, and I finally got a desk set up, and I put my iMac on there, and I went to get my hard drive out that I backed everything up to, and the hard drive was gone. And I started to worry a little bit. I looked for, panicked, and looked everywhere, and double-checked and triple-checked and quadruple-checked, called back to Illinois, where I moved from, called everywhere I could call, and that hard drive was gone. It seems that somewhere along the transportation to Los Angeles in one of the airports, I may have pulled it out of my bag momentarily and then not put it back in the bag. So I lost all of the data that I had from, basically 19 years old and everything before. So all of the photos and videos, I was a skateboarder growing up, so I had so many skate videos. I had like a bunch of movies and just a bunch of stuff with friends, and all the music projects, everything was gone. All the documents, whatever documents I had, all gone. So I had a bit of a panic attack for probably 2 days. And then maybe I was probably depressed, if I'm thinking, yeah, I was definitely depressed about that. Because then I just had nothing. I had this iMac and nothing on it, literally. So I just would start recording like my acoustic in my apartment alone in LA. So sad. But here's what I took away from this experience. Never lose your files again. So I became extremely meticulous and obsessive about file management and backing things up. Since then, I have actually cataloged every single month of photos and videos or screenshots or whatever's on my phone onto my hard drives, and now I have a system that I have put in place, and I have mimicked that system with my recording career and with my music collection and with everything else that I have. Yeah, it's complicated, but I've learned a few things, and we've come a long way since then. I think the first drive I bought when I moved to LA, again, I was 19 years old, was a Western Digital Firewire hard drive, probably 100 gigs if I was guessing. Actually, let me show you. All right, here we go. So this is actually the drive. I still have it, miraculously. The Western Digital hard drive, and this was, as you can see here, had the Firewire 800 and USB Mini, and again, this was about 100 gigs. Now, for reference, this is a drive that I just got from Sweetwater. It's USB-C or Thunderbolt, and look at the size difference here. It's thinner, it's smaller, and this is 4 terabytes. 4 terabytes, 100 gigabytes. That's where we've come in the last 10, 12 years. Now, because I make videos for YouTube and for other projects, and I record sessions, and I just have a ton of libraries, the size of the storage that I need is absolutely outrageous. So now I want to show you the latest drive that I just got. It's a lot larger. All right, I haven't opened it yet, but this is it. Look at this thing. First off, it's super heavy. Now, this particular drive is actually what's called a RAID. So technically what this drive is an enclosure that holds 2 physical hard disk drives. Now, the difference between this kind of drive and this kind of drive is this is a solid state drive, which means it's flash memory. It's much faster and much smaller physically. It's also more expensive. These are hard disk drives. Those are some of the hard disk drives that I have. Those are all full. Those are all old backups. My means for storing my external storage is getting out of hand, and I needed a better system. So that's what we're getting into. So that, my friends, is where this thing comes into play. It's pretty cool. It's a very, very nice enclosure. As you can see here on the back, you've got your power switch, power adapter, Thunderbolt, USB 3, and then you have your dip switches here to change the setting of RAID that you are using. Now, we'll talk about RAID in a second. Inside each one of these is a hard disk drive, and apparently each drive that's in here is 20 terabytes, giving me a total of 40 terabytes of storage in this one thing. 40 terabytes. That's a lot. Now, the other thing worth mentioning here is back when I got this drive at school, this was, again, 100 gigabytes. I want to say that I spent something on the order of $200 to $300 for that 100 gigabyte external hard drive. This is 4 terabytes solid state memory. This was $400 from Sweetwater. This is 40 terabytes, 10 times more. Now, these are hard disk drives, and this is a RAID, so I'm going to be using this for a different application, but this was $1,200. 40 terabytes for $1,200 is just nuts. So why all of these hard drives and how am I going to use them? So the bulk of data that I store comes from making these videos. I have the entire project folder with all of the contents for it inside the folder. Usually winds up being somewhere between 200 to 300 gigabytes for one video. Now, depending on the month, I will put out 6, 7, 8. I've even done 11 videos in 1 month. That's a lot of footage to keep track of, nonetheless to store. So the system that I'm going to implement now is going to be a refreshed system for managing both my recording content, my sound libraries, all of my asset libraries, and archiving all of the videos that I do. Now I intend on using this guy as my archive system. Now this again is 40 terabytes, but I will be using it as a RAID in RAID 1 setting, which basically means anything I put on here will be mirrored across 2 drives, giving it twice the safety or twice the insurance of putting the data on here for saving it. And if one drive fails, all of the data will also be on the other drive. So that actually brings the total storage capacity down to 20 terabytes if you use this configuration in a RAID 1. But each year I have gone through larger and larger drives. 3 years ago I had used an 8 terabyte drive, then I went to a 14 terabyte drive, and last year I went through a 16 terabyte drive. So based off of how the file sizes and the quantity of files seems to be inflating each year, I'm gonna go with this 40 terabyte RAID, which will give me 20 terabytes of storage for this year at $1,200. Now, essentially everything I put on here is going to be completed work that I am just putting somewhere to save in case I ever need to find it or use it again. I'm not going to be actively pulling things from this drive that I know of. This will not be like a work drive that I'm keeping active projects on. For the work drives, I will be using these SanDisk G drives, SSDs. Now these are 4 terabytes. I have one that I use for my active working projects. I have another here that, as you can see, I use for my sound libraries for samples. And then I have a third one, which I am going to use as a B-roll drive. Much like when I'm making music and I want to pull sounds to be able to use on the projects and I want to be able to access them fast, and I want to have a good solid drive for that, but not a large physical drive. This is the move. This is I think it's like $420 on Sweetwater. 4 terabyte SSDs for 420 something bucks is absolutely a killer deal. Now I've been using these for 6 or so months and they seem to be pretty dependable and they don't get super hot. They're obviously small and require no power supply, which is awesome. And speaking of storage and organization, I've just moved everything around in my studio again, and now I am going to set up these new hard drives for my computer. While I'm doing that, let me know what drives you like to use. I know this is actually made by Glyph, which is a very popular drive in the recording world. And yeah, what do you guys like to use? Historically, I've been using the Seagate hard disk drives as my backup drives, and those have actually been phenomenal. But otherwise, I've had great luck with Seagate, Glyph, and these G drives are from SanDisk. They're called G Drive SSDs, and again, 4 terabytes. Let me know what you guys think down below. I have links to these drives from Sweetwater. They sponsored this video. Thank you, Sweetwater, for sending these to me and supporting the channel. If you guys want to use the links down below to look at the hard drives, get any information on them, or if you want to pick them up, they're affiliate links and they help the channel, would greatly appreciate it. Good luck with everything you're doing, and I'll see you in the next video.